and welcome to this 15-minute author interview. And today we're going to be chatting about your book. So would you like to introduce it and tell us about
Yeah, so my name's Claire Evans, and I wrote a book called Becoming Mum. They didn't tell me that. And it's basically my little anecdotes from when I had my two children, just written in more of a humorous way. A bit of a memoir, so to speak. Yep.
So something that lots of people will be able to relate to then with...
Yeah, I wanted it relatable. And I didn't want it to be some awful story about how bad I had the experience or how good. It just needed to be natural, and it just needed to be my experience. And if it can bring a little bit of laugh to people, a bit of humour to people, then yeah. That was the reason why. But it just started slowly.
Yeah, the interesting thing about your book, Claire, is that I thought the same thing. This must have a massive audience, and I've written fiction and non-fiction. My non-fiction is very similar. Mine was about my long career in education, mostly anecdotes, some sad stuff. But I did find it very hard to market at the same time as people who read it said, well, yeah, this was funny and it's interesting reading. And I presume yours is like that. Just wondering what sort of experience you've had trying to get it out there and get people interested in it.
Yeah, so I went with an independent publisher in the UK. They did a certain element of the marketing, so they got it all out onto the main stores on Amazon, Waterstones, etc., all online. So I didn't have to do any of that. They gave me some marketing advice, basically to start with all the bookshops locally. So all the bookshops in Dorset, for example, radio, all the media, news, papers, etc. So it took a little bit of time to get going, but I contacted lots of local magazines, so they do a little article, advertise the book in it for me. Mm-hmm. I used Facebook Marketplace, but that can get a little bit, you can get carried away with going, oh, I'll just pay for another week, I'll just do this. Just adding myself to groups and etc. But trying to get your book noticed onto the news desk of the local Echo, for example. They see so many stories every day, and you have to keep doing it. And of course, that's what takes up the time. And if you're trying to hold down a full-time job and do everything else in between, you just have to put it on the back burner, or that's what I found. So
it's incredibly time consuming, isn't it? And funnily enough, our last interview, we're talking about the same thing, that there's this love of writing and expressing yourself, and then the hard work of the other stuff, isn't there? Yeah.
I was just going to say, had I gone with a larger publisher, had I had the money to put up front to go with a larger publisher, which I had an offer, which was great, they would have done a lot more of the marketing. But of course, it's purely the outlay. You have to come up with thousands of pounds to put towards it. And, that just wasn't possible for me. So I decided to go with the independent publisher rather than doing it myself, purely myself. I did get some guidance from this company. So, yeah.
Going back to the beginning, what was your sort of inspiration? What prompted you to start doing it in the first place? What made you wake up that morning and go, I'm going to write a book today?
It didn't happen like that. No, basically, I've always loved writing. I've always put pen to paper, but nothing in particular. And I started putting together little things about what I could remember of my experience, and just filled up A4 pads of just writing, not typing it, just purely writing it in my own time. And the more I wrote, the more I thought, I wonder how many words I've got. And I was getting through sections of my life as the pregnancy, the first child, the experiences, the second child, and all that sort of thing. And I thought, I'll type it up and put together a manuscript and see how many words I've got. And this was in 2011. So it was a slow burner at the beginning. And I'd got to the point where I thought, you know what, maybe I could do something with this. And I started linking the chapters together and making it into some sort of book, but it wasn't long enough to be a novel. So it was going to be a memoir, 40,000 words, for example, which is what they class as a memoir. And unfortunately, in 2013, we had a sudden death in the family of my sister-in-law. And we were quite close. She was quite a big part of the book because obviously it was all family related. I'd had some fun with her and her son, my nephew. And when she died, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't put pen to paper anymore. And I literally just put it down and I couldn't write anymore. So I forgot about it for 5 years. Things changed. Health issues came up, quite serious health problems for me. And my friend said to me, "Are you going to do anything with that manuscript?" And I went, "No, I don't know. And I hadn't quite finished it. So I began to think, well, shall I put it on the list of to do, like a bucket list kind of thing to do? And it went from there, really. I sort of finished it, edited it. And and then it kind of, I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it published. And that was it, really.
So that what you've just said, Claire, prompts my next question, because I'm sorry to hear about what you went through with your cancer. Funnily enough, almost the same process my wife's going through at the moment. So the sort of stuff that you're reading, I think it's very, very relevant to a lot of people. And I noticed that you are in the process of writing that, aren't you? Writing about that experience, or intending to. Has that been a long process as well? Because I think it all took place a few years ago, did it?
Yeah.
But you plan to write about the cancer, yeah?
Yeah, I was diagnosed 5 years ago with breast cancer, and that's what prompted me. Once I recovered, when I started to recover, that was when I wanted to do something with this book in particular.
Yeah.
I didn't write about my experience with cancer at the time. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. I know some people do blog about it, and that's great for them. But after I started to recover, again, a bit like how this book came about, started writing about my experience. But I didn't want it to be a dark story. I wanted it to bring a little bit of humour and light to what is a very dark subject. So I created a website and started uploading my little stories. For example, radiotherapy. Just wrote something about radiotherapy, created a page, added it in. And I've got about 40 pages on this website at the moment. So the first thing, that was therapy for me. I found therapy in writing about it. And I'd find a bit of humour, and those friends that I've now made through cancer, basically, could all really relate to it.
And benefit from what you're doing.
And benefit. And even if it makes somebody feel a bit better, that's it, job done. You know?
Yeah.
So, so I've created that as well. That's kind of an ongoing thing. I've got chapters to do on that as well. So again, I kind of had to put that aside whilst I was publishing the book about becoming a mum. So,
well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really good and very sort of inspirational to others, and probably informative as well. I mean, going into all of that, you know, it's a whole raft of information and knowledge that you don't start off with. So, being able to see it with a light-hearted take on it as well, and that's good.
A little bit of written with a lot of humour, but you need to be factual with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
At the same time. And yeah, I did put in there how, hard it was to go through it all. But it was written in my sort of way. So it's almost as if someone's talking about it and you're having a chat with friends, basically.
So the one you've published, the family, or the obviously family members that are involved in that, have they taken to it well? There are none of them been upset or nose put out?
No, it's funny because I haven't named anybody in the book. So when I've written about a trip to Center Parcs at being 8 months pregnant, and the little stories that, my friends were busy drinking and having a great time, and there was I waddling around the Center Parcs. They know who they are. They've all read it and they loved it. And it's gone down very well. But funnily enough, my mum hasn't read it, and she's not sure whether she wants to read it, which is really weird. But everybody's who has
I love
has
that.
been involved. Yeah,
I love it because I did the same, and I had people I hadn't seen for 20 years saying, "Is this me in this book?"
Yeah.
What can't you tell? I said, "I can't commit."
Yeah. There was a comment that I made about somebody in the book at the start, and I had a text message from somebody I used to work with going, "Who was that you were writing about?" So I can't divulge it, but it's not you, don't worry.
Everybody becomes paranoid, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you find the hardest part? So was it the actual writing, the editing, thinking about the publishing side and trying to learn all that? What was your what's been the hardest
the editing bit I found difficult. I used to do proofreading a lot going back many years. So I thought, I don't need anybody. I'll just go through and do the grammar and all the spelling and stuff, which is fine. But you do need somebody to go over it. And so I had a couple of people go over it from an editing point of view. I think trying to finish it, I found it really difficult. It's like, where do I stop? How do I finish this book? Because it's not like a autobiography where you're going, from start to finish, or from start till now. This is a chapter in your life. So I did find it a little bit, have I rushed it? So that was a little bit of a hurdle. And the marketing of it. It's like, I really want that, it's been taken on really well locally. And it's getting it out there. It's just like, I want somebody to now, initially that wasn't the idea. It was just like, I want to get a book published. That was a tick off a list.
Yeah.
But then when people started reading it, it's like, actually, how do I get it further afield? And I think I haven't conquered that yet. It needs a lot of work doing on that.
Yeah, it's not easy, Claire, and we have. I mean, Lee will confirm this. We've had this conversation so many times that get to the bit where it's promoting, marketing. It's just frustrating, isn't it? It's hard and sometimes not very right. It's one of the things we're actually trying to do. I was looking as well. You do a lot of poetry, don't you? You write poetry. They're good too. I read your COVID one just before we come on. So are you thinking of publishing those as well?
Yes, that's the Again, it's trying not to let the mind race ahead, because I'd like to do something with the Cancer Me Really website, but I don't know how to transform that into paper. I don't know whether to do that yet. There's a lot of words on there. There's a few little poems in there that I'd written as well. But yeah, I've just started to just put a few on my Claire D. Evans website of just little poems. But I would like to do that, and then you think, right, have I got enough? You've got to fill a book.
Yeah.
But it would be nice in the future just to keep writing. I don't want to shelve it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So you should, yeah. Is there anybody in particular who's inspired what you do? I know it's very different because we talk to novelists usually, but
Right.
in terms of, I mean, when I did mine and I read it, I wasn't purposely doing this, but I suppose it was similar to An All Creatures Great and Small, but in the education sector, it's that sort of
Right.
thing. So unwittingly, perhaps was influenced by that. Do you think yours was influenced by anybody else who writes that sort of thing?
Not really, because the books I used to read was all about forensic pathology. Patricia Cornwell books, particularly fiction. I've always said that in another life I would, or if I could turn back the clock, I'd be a forensic pathologist, because I've got this morbid fascination, as my mum would say, about it, and always have done. But writing in sort of, I like writing in the way I would speak. So it's not for everybody, but it's just the way I like to put pen to paper. So I thought, well, I'll just put my thoughts down and my little stories and see what happens.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, it's an extension of your personality, and if you've got personality like you have, it should come across, shouldn't it? And that's what you're doing. You're talking to people in a different medium. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how about sort of like reviews and things like that? How did you feel when you started getting reviews on?
So the only reviews I've had have been on Amazon, but I was told, don't take it, if it's not a very good review, you don't take it to heart. You just take it as a review. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. If they found something amusing in my writing, great. If they like the story, great. If they don't like it, they've got their opinion. It's fine. But no, I don't sort of take offence at it. It's because some people as well are only out to review in a negative way, and I know that everybody, all authors, will get that or come across that.
That's a good way to look at it, I think. And it's, something we sort of promote, is that sort of not taking it to heart. And, some people just leave negative reviews.
Yeah. It's like anything, isn't it? With the
it is.
Reviews for anything, really.
Claire, you might be surprised, but already we've more or less come to the end of our time. Is there anything you'd like to add to what you told us a lot, actually, which is great? Is there anything you'd like to add before we finish, or you'd like to say about your work?
I just think what you're doing is great to get authors seen in a different way, really, because it's and the advice is going to be really important for a lot of people who don't know where to start. It took me, I did a lot of investigating, a lot of trawling through internet, how to lay out a manuscript. It doesn't come naturally. You've got to use the right layout, you need to use the right font. There is a lot of guidance out there, but it can be a little bit of a minefield. So I would definitely say to people, don't rush it, look into it properly, and just keep writing, because it can help. It can be therapy as well as getting your story out there. Yeah,
brilliant. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
That's all from us. So until next time, stay safe and keep enjoying those books. Please make sure you follow, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook and Instagram. And for more author interviews, how-to guide and useful tips and tricks, head over to our website at meettheauthors.net.